There is a myth that billion-dollar companies succeed solely through innovation, massive capital, or extraordinary talent. While those elements do contribute, the truth is more surprising. What really separates dominant companies from the rest is not complexity but simplicity. The best companies in the world operate with simple tricks, repeated consistently, to maintain their edge. They do not need to reinvent the wheel every year. Instead, they apply strategic habits and behavioral tactics that turn ordinary processes into unbeatable systems. If you think staying on top requires constant revolution, think again. Simplicity is where power lies, and billion-dollar companies understand this better than anyone. One of the most effective tricks these companies use is the power of default behavior. This means they structure environments so that the consumer does not need to make difficult decisions. Take Amazon as an example. Once you sign up for Prime, you are automatically driven to keep using it. The free shipping, faster delivery, and exclusive content are defaults that quietly influence behavior. Most people do not cancel subscriptions because the process is slightly inconvenient. Amazon knows this. That is why it hides the unsubscribe button and makes checkout seamless. It is not a trap, it is a well-studied psychological pattern. When people are offered a path of least resistance, they take it. Billion-dollar companies design for defaults, and once a customer is in, the company has won half the battle. Another simple trick is brand repetition. You might think people choose products based on careful analysis, but that is rarely the case. The truth is that exposure creates trust. The more people see a brand, the more legitimate and reliable it appears. Billion-dollar companies use this trick constantly. Coca-Cola, for example, spends billions each year not to inform but to remind. They want the red and white logo burned into your subconscious. You may not even realize it, but that familiarity guides your purchase decisions. This is why even during recessions, top brands continue advertising. They understand that in uncertain times, people fall back on what they know. Repetition breeds trust, and trust breeds sales. Still, it is not just about tricking the consumer. Billion-dollar companies apply these tactics internally as well. Take the concept of micro-decisions. Many leaders try to solve big problems with one big decision. But top companies do the opposite. They break massive goals into tiny actions and optimize them ruthlessly. Think about how McDonald's operates. It is not just about burgers. It is about how long it takes to flip a patty, how to pour a drink with one hand, and how to serve a car in under 90 seconds. Every step is measured. When the little things are optimized, the big results take care of themselves. That is the secret: master the simple, repeatable actions and scale them. Billion-dollar companies also thrive on customer feedback loops. It is not enough to ask people for reviews. The trick is how they collect and apply that information. Take Netflix. It does not rely on viewer ratings alone. It tracks how long you watch a show, when you pause, and when you stop. This data is not for vanity, it is for optimization. Netflix uses it to recommend content, build better algorithms, and even decide what original series to produce. By understanding what the customer likes before the customer can articulate it, Netflix stays ahead. Feedback is not a one-time event. It is a continuous loop, quietly guiding the next big decision. Here is an interesting twist that will make you rethink how companies really grow. They remove decision fatigue from their leadership. Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day. Mark Zuckerberg does the same. Why? Because every decision drains mental energy. Billion-dollar companies understand that focus is a finite resource, so they remove unnecessary choices. In meetings, they use templates. In hiring, they automate screening. In scheduling, they follow strict routines. This simplicity is not laziness. It is discipline. The more decisions they automate, the more focus they reserve for what actually matters. It is a trick as old as time, but only the best leaders use it intentionally. Another trick that keeps these giants ahead is persuasion. This is different from persuasion. It happens before the conversation even starts. For example, Apple does not just sell technology, it sells identity. When you walk into an Apple store, you are not just a customer. You are part of a tribe. The clean white displays, the minimalist layout, the uniformed employees all tell a story before a product is even mentioned. You are primed to believe in quality. You are persuaded. And when belief is already established, resistance becomes minimal. People do not just buy iPhones. They buy the idea of being modern, creative, and elite. That belief is built before a word is spoken. Do you know what else billion-dollar companies do better than anyone? They create routines, not just products. Starbucks is not just a coffee shop. It is a ritual. People stop there on the way to work, during lunch breaks, or after meetings. The company has engineered this behavior by making the process easy, familiar, and emotionally rewarding. Your name on the cup, your points in the app, your favorite order saved. All these small touches make it more than a transaction. It becomes part of your life. And once that routine is formed, it is difficult to break. The competition might make better coffee, but Starbucks wins because it owns the habit. Now let us talk about another simple trick: anchoring. This is when a company shows you a high price first to make the second price seem reasonable. Think of luxury brands. When Rolex introduces a watch for $50,000, suddenly the $15,000 model feels like a deal. It is not about cost, it is about perception. Software companies do this too. They show you 3 pricing plans. One looks excessive, one looks cheap, one is just right. That middle option is the one they want you to choose. It is called the Goldilocks effect, and it works because the first number you see anchors your mind. It sets a reference point. And billion-dollar companies place those anchors with surgical precision. Another underrated tactic is the power of onboarding. First impressions are everything. Billion-dollar companies do not leave the first customer interaction to chance. Think about how Spotify welcomes new users. The interface is clean. You are guided to your music tastes quickly. You get instant value. The trick here is momentum. When a user sees immediate benefit, they stick around. Companies that invest heavily in onboarding often enjoy higher retention, better reviews, and lower customer service costs. The lesson is simple: the beginning sets the tone for the entire journey. Start strong, and the rest becomes easier. Let us not forget the silent engine behind many of these tricks: habit stacking. This means attaching one action to another, making it harder to break the chain. Apple uses this by linking its ecosystem. Your iPhone works best with your Mac, which syncs with your iCloud, which connects to your Apple Watch. Leaving the ecosystem becomes difficult because everything works together. That is not by accident. That is strategic habit stacking. The more integrated your experience, the more likely you are to stay. Billion-dollar companies do not just build products. They build systems where every step reinforces the next. Even social proof, one of the oldest psychological tricks, is still one of the most powerful. Companies know that people look to others before making choices. That is why Amazon displays reviews, Uber shows driver ratings, and Airbnb highlights previous guest feedback. It is not to inform, it is to reassure. Billion-dollar companies do not just say they are the best. They show you that millions of others believe it too. And in a world overloaded with options, that reassurance makes the difference between hesitation and action. Finally, billion-dollar companies always return to this one foundational principle: consistency beats brilliance. They do not chase trends endlessly. They do not pivot every time something new appears. They identify what works and they refine it. Again and again. It is boring to outsiders, but it is effective. That is why McKinsey still uses the same problem-solving frameworks. Why Google keeps its search homepage minimal. Why Costco still sticks to limited product variety. Consistency builds trust, and trust is where empires are born. Before you go, remember this: complexity is impressive, but simplicity is what scales. The companies that dominate do so not because they are smarter, but because they apply simple tricks relentlessly. The game is not rigged against you. It is just invisible to those who are not paying attention. Now that you know how the game is played, you can start playing it on your terms. And if you found this eye-opening, the next video will show you how to apply these exact strategies to your personal brand or small business. Watch it now, because success does not wait for those who stay blind to what works.